2021 was a challenging year for CEOs, and at the same time, it was also when leadership evolved to newer levels. How have CEOs upskilled and reskilled in the interim? The Economic Times presents CEO Conclave 2022, second edition. The theme of this year was Stalwarts in Excellence, Redefining the Future. Here are the highlights of the day.
A very warm welcome to each of you to this brilliant show. I'm your host Isha Bhala, and it gives me immense pleasure to welcome you to the second edition of the Economic Times Inspiring CEOs Conclave. The Conclave is really an effort to recognize the massive efforts put in by leaders in creating the foundation of a better India. Not just that, but making sure that India is one of our dreams. India making sure that we truly are and believe in Atmanirbhar Bharat. And true to this year's theme of Stalwarts in Excellence, Redefining the Future, companies have in recent years invested a lot of their efforts and resources when it comes to research and development, some of the first and the finest in the world.
So Anita, what is it that motivates you to do that you're doing today?
You know, I think what's really important for a creative person, and I would say this for any creative person, is to walk in every morning and give vent to that creativity. I walk in every day to work bursting with designs in my head, and I'm just so grateful that I can walk in and make those designs happen. I think that itself is just so gratifying. But then I get a double reward when I make those designs, and for me what motivates me also is the people who wear those designs. I like my designs to be loved, I like them to be worn. And when you meet customers who feel equally motivated by wearing your designs, so whether when I met this young girl who is a CEO today and who bought one of my jackets 20 years ago for her very first interview, and how empowered she felt when she wore that jacket and walked in with great confidence at that interview. Or when I meet a bride who saves up her salary and walks in and pays for the lehenga from with her own credit card, not her parents, and says it was worth it for me to save up for this lehenga, and what that lehenga means to her. Stories like that motivate me. But primarily as a designer, yes, you come in to create and you're just grateful that you can create every day. It's a gift, and I'm really grateful for that.
What is it that motivates you to do what you're doing?
I think really what motivates me are essentially two things. The one is the excitement of waking up in the morning and just coming to the office and creating. I think as a creative person, having the ability to walk in every day and create is highly motivating. That's what I live for, and that's what brings me to work every day, even today. And I think the reward for this, for me, is when for me the purpose of fashion is to enable women and men to be better versions of themselves in the way of how they feel by the way they are dressed. So when I meet women wherein, for example, I met a woman CEO the other day, and she said that, years ago, my first jacket, which I wore for my first interview, was an Anne jacket. Or when I met a bride a few weeks ago in my car store, and, just as she came to the cash counter and she bought a bridal lehenga, and she was not from the country, and she was with her father, and her father was pulling out his wallet to pay for it, and she put a hand on her dad, and she pulled out her wallet and she paid for the lehenga, and she said, I have worked hard and I've saved for this lehenga, and it's so worth it. So I think moments like this and women like this inspire me to go back again and do what I do every day. But again, it's just to create. I think it's an honor for a creative person to be given the ability to go in and create every day, and it's something I don't take lightly.
We'd now like to present to you the Economic Times Inspiring CEOs 2022. Please put your hands together.
The event also saw the unveiling of the Best Brands Coffee Table Book, the Economic Times Inspiring CEOs 2022 by the Minister of State, Micro, Small and Medium Enterprises, Bhanu Pratap Singh Verma.
The way I would actually take a look into the design thinking is it's more of a philosophy and the tools with the primary objective of creating the products as per the human requirements, as per the customer requirements. And it's very simple. Typically, we tend to work on products from a technology standpoint, but we need to be really looking from the human-centric standpoint. So keep the customer right in the middle and then start thinking from what the customer would really require and then actually start designing the products. I think that would be the key in terms of how we actually approach this problem. How do we do that? Have market research, talk to the customers, understand how they use your product, and go in an iterative, agile fashion. As a result, you're not just creating a product in a water flow kind of a model, and then voila, release the product that is 180 degrees apart from what the customer is looking for. But actually try to take a look into in a very small iterative fashion. As a result, you are getting closer and closer to what the real customers are really looking for. I think that's the key thing that we need to really look into. One of the challenges with this design thinking is that a lot of people, when they actually do that, they get infatuated and in love with what they hear. Please don't do that. Try to actually go a little deeper, do market research, not just hearing one customer and trying to actually create a product as per he or she or that customer base, but taking a look into the bigger picture. As a result, probably it is for a wider audience, wider regions, wider markets, wider countries as well, right? I think that's what we need to do. And the second thing is the more the research that you would be in a position to actually do, the better off you will be. Not your own research, but how the other companies are actually doing, how the other product lines in adjacencies are also actually coming in, might help you to refine your strategy go forward.
I think it's very, very connected together, especially in the times in which we are living right now, where everything is very volatile. We don't know how things are going to move. A company which is working together, a company which has been able to think about the common goals, where people are allowed to take decisions based on the common understanding. I think those companies are the only companies which have been able to innovate and grow during these times. And I think in good times, while every company grows, in difficult and tough times like these, and the way I look at the world moving forward, it is companies who are culturally aligned, who have a common understanding of the goals, and where the teams are empowered to deliver on numbers will only perform well. So I think that's a very simple way. It's a 100% correlation, and that we have seen in the case of House of Anita Dongre. The last 2 years have been fantastic for us. We have been able to launch a lot of brands, and we have gained a lot of market share during this period. And I think one of the biggest reasons is that as an organization we are aligned, we have a common goal, and we think in the same way.
I think for any company or any organization, it's very important to be clear about who your customers are. And secondly, what do you offer to them which is different from what everybody else is offering? In the case of Metro, we are very clear that we are a B2B organization. So we're focused only on business customers. And in India, we focus on 3 main customer segments. The first segment is of traders, customers or shopkeepers buying goods for the purpose of resale. Second segment is HoReCa, hotel, restaurants and caterers. And third are the office and institutions. So these are our customers, and we don't focus on large business customers, but we focus on small business owners. So our purpose as a company and as a brand is to make these small business owners more successful. And success is defined as 3 things, like for any business: more sales, more profits, and better cash flows. So we tell everybody in our company, we tell all our employees when they join, that our purpose is to make our customers more successful. And that's what we stand for.
For us, design thinking is not about what you do, it's about how you do it. It's about bringing a mindset shift in just looking at problems in a different sense. There's a lot more logical approach to bringing about solutions. So for us, I think adaptation into a different mindset, a different approach, a different way of problem solving, a different way of doing business is something that we've kind of pushed ourselves into kind of absorbing. I think the challenges would essentially be, a mindset, because you're so used to doing things in a certain way. And I think it's about empowering the team around you. It's about ensuring that you take them with you, and you give logic to the team in terms of why we're doing what we're doing, and is bringing about a mindset shift.
Actually, pandemic itself was a big, effect for all of us. I think it was very unprecedented. I think beyond pandemic, where we actually struggled and improved in many ways as far as India is concerned, I think the Russia-Ukraine war, actually has created a lot of challenges in the supply chain disruption. US recession, the inflation rates in India is going to create more challenging environments for us. But overall, all these challenges actually puts a lot of opportunities. So I look at it from an opportunity rather than a challenge from that point of view. And I think India is well positioned, and we are fighting each points to ensure that our growth is not affected. I think while the challenges are there, I think we convert the challenges into opportunities, and I think we'll sail through properly in India is concerned, from the overall world scenario is concerned.
Management strategies are, when we think about, there are two kinds of strategies, short-term and long-term. But people do draw up a lot of strategies for success of business. But I think in these kind of situation, there are some critical gaps which we see in many of the companies. Not all, I would say. I think one is mainly for multinational companies, you have to be a local, you have to have an eye for a local market. Though you might have global strategies, but locally every market is evolving. And with every market evolving, you have to have a local strategy to tweak it around so that you have your business wholly surrounded.
Economic Times presents CEO Conclave 2022 second edition was an attempt to recognize the efforts of CEOs. Minister of State for Petroleum and Natural Gas and Ministry of Labour and Employment Rameshwar Teli was also present for the felicitation ceremony.
और अब मैं अनुरोध करना चाहूंगी माननीय मंत्री जी से कि वह हमारे सीईओज, हमारे लीडर्स का यहाँ और भी ज़्यादा प्रोत्साहित बढ़ाएं। हमारे बीच यहाँ उन्हें सम्मानित किया जाए एक बेहतरीन ट्रॉफी के साथ।
I think design thinking is not something that one can embed in an organization in a day. I think it takes time to change mindset, train people on the process, and derive the benefits. Now, I can think of 5 aspects one should consider when implementing design thinking in organizations. Number 1, I think one should always start small. Create small projects that allows team to practice gathering data, testing frequently, and iterating quickly. Number 2 would be to identify and leverage some early adopters so that one can create a network of supporters who can help drive the process across the company. Third, I would think is that design thinking actually requires both divergent and converging thinking iteratively. So I think it works best when one includes a set of people who bring different perspectives and expertise to the table. So I think one definitely needs to try and avoid any kind of siloism. Number 4 is that the design thinking is pretty much a non-linear process. I think the 5 phases of design thinking don't have to follow a specific order, and they can actually be done in parallel. One can even think about cutting off a couple of phases if that suits as well. I think it's important is to ensure that design thinking is applied in a way that makes the most sense for the problem that one is trying to solve. I think too much rigidity can actually create resistance and reduce adoption. Last but not the least, I think one will need to identify how one will measure success and communicate the successes across the organization. While there are many challenges, in implementing design thinking, although, the benefits are quite obvious, I think during the empathize phase, the apprehension generally I've seen is about gathering customer feedback and speaking with consumers in a human-centered way rather than through anonymous surveys.
To me, an effective leader must be versatile, should possess the ability to wear numerous management hats at any given time, and marry agility, passion, and commitment as the need arises in the business. What makes HIL special is the biggest asset that we have, which is our employees, our one HIL family. Our well-bonded team has high aspiration to grow and will always keep us ahead of the curve.
During the pandemic, we faced unprecedented times. The challenges were always going to be about how to keep the work family safe. We ensured right before office closed that we were able to move 500 people to Microsoft Teams, and we used this platform to communicate periodically with all our family members about the health and safety of their family. We also spoke about economic uncertainty and their cash flows. Since the first 4 months, we did not know what would happen to the company's cash flows. We did announce that no one would lose their job, but we would save cash by making partial payments. 4 months later, when work was restored, we restored the salaries immediately and paid whatever was deducted previously. This boosted the confidence. People came back to work at the factories. Our factories came back to normal production and serviced the customers' surging demand. Having dealt with this entire period as a united family, we feel very confident that we would be able to deal with uncertainty and challenges in the future in a much stronger and united fashion.
The economy is impacted across industries by what's happening in the global environment, and fintech is not immune to it. The impact is maybe a little more pronounced in fintech, given the fact that the global economy is very tightly coupled with money supply, and those elements have got constrained over the last few months. Having said that, in the medium to long term, fintech is bound to grow, as fintech is bound to accelerate change in the country and the global economy. And also, if you look at India as a nation, which is still largely cash driven, although that's changed in the last few years because of UPI and other initiatives by the government, fintech has tremendous opportunity and scope to grow in the coming years and decades.
What inspires me in life is the brand, the purpose. Our team, diversity, the technologies we have, the solutions we roll out are the ones which make very humble chores highly valuable. A simple act of cleaning can create so much sustainability, can create so much value for our customers, is something which I learned after coming here. I'm really proud to be a part of an organization like this, and especially part of an Indian team who deserves all the praise for the award I have won. It just represents the kind of team I'm leading. It's a fantastic experience to be amongst the greats of Indian business. I actually feel humbled that I'm sharing the podium with, or the stage with such illustrious names in Indian business. Not only that, Economic Times as a brand recognizing you has a lot of weight, and it really brings a sense of both achievement and humility to anyone who wins the award.
I think, as we all know, when the pandemic happened, it was one of the most unanticipated events probably in the last few decades. And the only way a country like India thrived through all of this, be it healthcare, be it technology, be it banks, or be it anything which is critical to us functioning through the pandemic, when millions and millions of people were forced to work from home, it was the technology piece. So Nutanix, being an absolute leader in the infrastructure space from a technology perspective, was able to connect, again, hundreds of thousands of employees using remote workspaces. Our technology helped banks, helped hospitals provide high quality healthcare without you actually physically going to hospitals. So I think technology was a huge savior over the last 2 years. And if you look at it even now, there's a lot of talk about an economic downturn, but I think there's one thing which is going to continue to thrive over the next few years, which is going to be technology, because companies are going to use the power of technology to keep costs in control and always stay ahead of the business. So I think technology is going to be a driving force, and digital transformation is here to stay.
The management strategy that has impacted my business and my personal success are two simple strategies which I work on. The first one is power of focus. Whatever we do, we have to make sure that our focus, our energy is channeling into one direction. And the second is power of specialization. We are at Shivami very successful with Google Workspace because we are a specialist partner and we are managing 12,000 plus customers. Because we are specialists, we are able to command the market leadership.
In its second edition, the CEO Conclave is working towards a common goal of recognizing the exemplary efforts of CEOs.